Our next speaker is someone that the Iowa Staters are very proud of. We have our president here this morning, Stephen Leith. And there's a couple of things you need to know about Dr. Leith. And these are points of pride for all of us who are involved with agriculture. As I mentioned, our stars are aligning, the constellations are aligning, excuse me, and he plays a big role in that because first, he's a product of the land grant system. Delaware, Penn State, Illinois, he's a land grant guy through and through. Second, he is a plant scientist and understands agriculture. And you know, you don't get a university president very often who understands agriculture, so we're enjoying that a lot. And third, he's a global leader, and not only a member of the World Food Prize Advisory Council, but even early on in his tenure, he took time to go out to Uganda and visit our program in Kamuli District to find out what we're doing out there. So we really feel like he's engaged in the global issues that confront all of us. Lastly, I'll point out that it was Dr. Leith's idea to fund some major initiatives at Iowa State University, so we have him to thank for the funding for the Global Food Security Consortium. So with that, I'll ask you to help me welcome Dr. Leith to the podium.
Thank you, David. Good morning, everyone. I'm excited to be here. You look like a quiet group, but we're going to try and get you enthused here, and because this is a great opportunity that we have going right here. I am still getting familiar with this group because it's a fairly new group, but I'm very familiar with the people behind it. So I would like to say that the whole concept of this Global Food Security Consortium is a great one, and it's one that I'll talk a little bit about in terms of what Dean Acker mentioned and me helping put together a program that enabled these things. But I want to first mention Leroy and Barbara Everson's Seed and Biosafety Symposium at Iowa State, which is really the umbrella for this right here. I also want to mention not only my appreciation for that, but for Manjit and Max's efforts in putting this together. Those gentlemen in the back are a couple of our stars, and without their work and effort and vision, programs like this would not get off the ground. Special thanks, though, to the Everson family for their generous support that made the overall symposium possible. Now, my understanding is that John and his sister Grace are here. Is that correct? Very good. Good to see you folks. I also saw Owen Newland, a great friend of the college and university, former regent here, pioneer great. So, Owen, thanks for being here this morning. So, gatherings like this, though, are really, really important. I tell you that from a perspective of someone who's spent their whole career in agriculture and agricultural research. And much of that career was in international agriculture. I ran an international program for the U.S. Department of Agriculture, still serve on an international agricultural board. So with that perspective, I look at food security across the world, and I think what we need to do, where there's 35 million people still hungry in the world, and a third of these are children. So the demand and the need for the types of things you folks are gathered for today is hugely important. This number is going to grow if we don't do things. It may grow even with our efforts. But from a scientific, ethical basis, we really need to work hard to alleviate these problems, make sure we have sufficient food, sufficient nutrition for the world as we go forward. And to me, a major step in addressing food security is exactly what you folks are doing here today, bringing together diverse researchers, faculty, students, putting all your ideas and talents together and your experiences from multiple locations and multiple perspectives to look at how we can solve these huge issues. No single person, single entity, or even single institution is going to be able to solve this problem alone, and we have to realize that. We've got to work together to discover ways that we can get at these problems and conduct research across many disciplines and from many perspectives, and so that we can implement real solutions to these problems. We believe that Iowa State University is one of the great leaders in this area, but we also believe we need and have to have great partners, and so I'm really excited to see what's happening here today. When I talk about this group, I want to talk a little bit about the Presidential Initiative for Interdisciplinary Research, and specifically this Global Food Security Consortium. I launched this idea of a presidential initiative for interdisciplinary research shortly after I came to Iowa State. The idea was to foster research across disciplines, really truly collaborative research that could lead to major advances in discoveries and technologies across a broad range of sciences. These initiatives were to pull together researchers and scientists from a number of areas to really look at big challenges. And it's interesting that this one came to the top of the many, many great ideas that came forward for this funding. And if you think about why this particular one rose to the top, it lines up perfectly with the criteria that were established for these monies. Large-scale multidisciplinary research and outreach efforts that have the potential to change the world. And this one fits right there. It projects further the excellence of Iowa State, building on the strengths this university has, but also expanding our overall research structure and our partnerships. And it's a great way to exemplify the Iowa State motto, which is science with practice. So this group that you're part of today fit that description perfectly. I want to talk a little bit about our history, too, as it relates to this program. Our roots and involvement with food and agriculture go back to our very, very beginning, 155 years ago, as one of the nation's very first land grants. We were established in 1858, and we take great pride here in Iowa that we were the first state to accept the terms of the Morrill Act. We have a great history as a leader in agriculture, engineering, vet med. We're particularly strong in the plant and animal sciences, all things relevant here. And we think we've done a tremendous job over those 155 years disseminating unbiased, science-based information, enabling us to link science with a number of things, but especially enabling farmers to really go forward and have great solutions to the problems they have. ISU tries to always promote science from conception, innovation, all the way to consumption utilization. This is a continuum. We don't want our science to sit on the shelf, and this group here looks like one that is committed to the same things. We have a rich history in research and making a difference in agriculture, going back to people like George Washington Carver. We just celebrated 150th anniversary of Carver last week on this campus. People like Jay Lush in animal science, Jay Davidson in agriculture engineering, but the list could go on, and the two gentlemen leading this group could be in that list. These people have changed the world from an agricultural perspective, a food safety and security perspective, and we want to continue that. We want to continue the inspiration for our students that people like Carver provided. You know, his science-based training and solution to problems, his optimism, his caring for the world, those types of things with a hands-on approach to make a real difference are the things we're looking for in these big interdisciplinary groups. And this group, again, seems to fit that perfectly. I want to mention a couple other programs that we have that come out of the College of Agriculture and Life Science that really exemplify what we do and why we're so excited about this group being here. Over the years, we've created a number of advances coming out of ag and life sciences and biology, physical sciences, even the social sciences. And we've integrated those together to make a big difference that's benefited Iowa, I believe the nation, and even the world. And we continue today to have many opportunities for advancing food and agricultural security. This one is going to build on ones, for example, like our Center for Sustainable Rural Livelihoods, which successfully shows partnerships in developing countries that can lead to a lessening of hunger. Our Seed Science Center, which has worked in 80 countries to improve science, technology, and policies. The Ensminger International Animal Agriculture Program, which has brought animal science training and education to hundreds in other countries, and it's led to a number of great collaborations. So as we look at what we've done and we look to the future with this group, we really need new advances in food production. We need to double our food production, and we need those science-based solutions. If we look over the next few years, we're going to have to do this while we minimize environmental impacts, and it's going to require a really strong, sustained public support for research, and it's going to require leadership, and it's going to require teams of people like we have here today. The science adopted by our farmers should result in a safe, wholesome, and affordable food supply that is produced with this minimal environmental impact. And that is going to be more difficult if we look at our population growth. But we believe the Global Food Security Consortium has an important role to play. You folks can be the leaders and make a huge difference in this going forward. We're in the golden age of agriculture, I believe, right now. There's more interest and excitement about agriculture than there's been in my 30-some years working in it. But there's also huge challenges. But when there's huge challenges and there's interest and support, and when teams like yourselves come together, there's great reason for optimism. So, that being said, I want to conclude by just talking a little bit about some things that happened in Iowa over the last couple of weeks. One of our greatest Iowans in agriculture ever was, of course, Norman Borlaug. And a couple of weeks ago, the governor, lieutenant governor, regent's president, and a few others of us went to Washington, D.C., where Iowa became one of the few states to actually replace a statue in Statuary Hall in the U.S. Capitol. And we replaced one of our statues with a statue of Norman Borlaug, who was really a giant in meeting the difficult challenges of food safety, food security, and nutrition in the world. His incredible achievements were based on science, but they were also based on really, really hard work, and they were based on optimism. And he kept that optimism, that hard work, and that drive and that passion going his entire life. I think that what Dr. Borlaug did coming out of Iowa is something similar to what you folks are doing and have the opportunity to do, make solutions to these great challenges possible. So I commend you for being here. I welcome you, and I hope you have a wonderful meeting. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much for those remarks, President Leith. And it was a reminder that food security is not an individual sport. It's a team sport. And when I look at the logos up here, seeing the family at the top, the focus on people is, to me, the right place to start. Really glad to see that.